Hello, friends. If a new car loses half of its price in 5 years, there is clearly something wrong with it. And sometimes quite live cars are sold at a torture meta price. In fact, the liquidity of cars in the secondary market is closely correlated with the annual price drop. Indicators of about 3 to 5% high liquidity, over 12 to 15 low liquidity. An example of one of the most liquid crossovers is the Kia Soul. It only loses about 10% in value in 3 years. And if there are leaders, there are outsiders. The reasons for sluggish demand in the secondary market are various. From technical to economic. Today for you are 5 crossovers that you'll have a hard time selling in the aftermarket. Let's look at specific examples. And we start with the Nissan Qashqai. The variator devalues any car after 50-80k mileage. The specific model of the variator is not essential. The audience gradually learned that this unit is not only too delicate and expensive to repair, but also gives a woozy dynamics. And you can't push the gas pedal too hard, it'll break. With 100k on the odometer, the variator is still more or less for sale. But if it came to a 180, it's not even clear what to advise. You don't change the variator before you sell it. Expressive touch. At mileage around 150k, many models with a manual start to cost more than mono models but with a variator. Qashqais have good motors, and up to 120-150k nothing terrible happens to them. But this mileage is critical for the variator, and often it requires repair even much earlier. About 1,500 crossovers of Qashqai and 2 generations with variators are waiting for a new owner every day. True, there are plenty of cars with mechanics as well, because the weather is spoiled by still unstable interior materials and relatively loose suspension. But you can't call this car bad after all. The next group of poorly marketed crossovers can be called victims of marketing. And the Nissan Tirana is proof of that. Everyone is aware that it's almost identical in engineering to the Duster. And being new, it's not that much more comfortable and richly equipped to cost 200-300k more. Well, you can't sell it for more on the secondary market. The Tirana here averages a little more expensive than the Duster, and demand is still sluggish. And not on the combination of motor 1.6 with a manual, nor on 2.0 with an automatic. Only young cars from 2 to 4 years old with mileage up to 50,000 are sold quickly and for a good price. Let's risk to assume that in a couple of years Renault Capture will be in a similar situation. Another redesigned and improved Duster, but still fancy. There's also another set of this type. Tech Twins. Mitsubishi Outlander XL, Peugeot 4007 Citroën T-Crosser. Outlander is going away with a bang. The French have problems because they are not popular and not mass models. Yes, the Tyrants is technically identical to the Duster, the difference is mainly in the design sphere. But with used cars, design is a secondary issue. And to avoid getting into an awkward situation, choose your cars wisely. Next, Chery Tiggo T11. A number of crossovers have more Chinese crossovers, and from the first wave until about 2015. Corrosion develops so quickly that after 5 to 6 years it simply cannot be hidden. And that has a big impact on demand. So the once popular Chery Tiggo 11, which was produced until 2016 in terms of aftermarket offerings, is twice the size of all other Chery crossovers combined. You won't believe it, but prices start even from 100,000 rubles. It's already a real waste. And it rarely exceeds 550,000. And some of the freshest variants of 2014 to 2015 offer about 500,000 rubles. Or even cheaper. Yeah, that's Niva's price niche. Although the Tiggo is much larger and better equipped. If you buy an 11 now with a mileage of 1,000 in a 100 to 200, in 3 to 4 years it can really only be marketed as scrap metal. But even worse and much cheaper is selling its clone. Vortex Tiggo. Taganrog assembly. Especially with the robotized box. Do you want to live a more peaceful life? For the same money, get the Granta. It has the same ground clearance. Also a motor and box combination not demanded by the market will turn out to be a huge loss. The Volkswagen Tiguan is a good example of this. There are about 1,500 first-generation Tiguans for sale on the aftermarket. And another 1,500 of the second. A champion bunch among the unwanted versions of the 1.4 TSI engine combined with a manual gearbox. This is the result of distrust to the engine, which was initially extremely problematic, and the fact that Tiguan would rather be preferred with an automatic. Slightly better demand for a 1.4 with a DSG robot than a car with a manual. But strangely enough, even on more prosperous Tiguans with 2-liter engines and classic hydro automatic, the buyer also has to be enticed, lowering the price a little. And here is one of the most massive, illiquid groups of premium segment crossovers, with overpowerful motors. Ever wondered why a Mercedes can cost so cheap without it even being beaten off? Among the leaders under tight aftermarket sales is the Mercedes-Benz M-Class, the third generation, which was produced until 2011. Cars of the last years of production with declared mileage of less than 100,000 kilometers are trying to sell at the price of a new Duster. The first factor that scares off buyers is high transportation tax for modifications with 272, 306 and 388 horses. The second, Mercedes sagging credibility as an ultra-reliable brand. And it sagged exactly during the period of this model's release, including for capricious motors. Identical situation with BMW X3, X5, X6. 5s and 6s are the hardest to sell. 249, 313, 381, and 450 horses plus was inexpensive to maintain units. But of the oddest, for example, the most unmarketable item is the Q7. On the contrary, simple kits with base motors sell quite well. Cars that are too powerful and have fuel consumption appropriate for primary market buyers are of little concern. The secondary market, on the other hand, considers expected costs more carefully. Well, I hope you found this issue interesting. If so, give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Only the most relevant automotive news and extremely interesting rankings are ahead. You've been on the Proudo Car channel. See you soon.